Hello and welcome. It's good to see everyone again. We're glad that you could join us for our second part of our Oregon Tilth SOE Strengthening Organic Enforcement webinar. And this is the second part of a four-part series that we're doing here at Tilth. So more to come monthly. Stay tuned. Just as a recap, in webinar 1, we covered some basic topics, just who needs to be certified, fraud prevention, which is a big part of the spirit behind this rule, and calculating percentage of the ingredients in your organic products. So in this webinar, we're going to dig a little deeper and go into a topic that I know is near and dear to many people's hearts. That is, who needs to request NOP Import Certificates and updates to the certificates for organic operation. So grab a cup of certified organic, hopefully by Tilth, hot cocoa, or your beverage of choice, and sit back for some casual, hopefully fun conversation. I want to introduce everyone in the room here because we have a really good room of folks. So first and foremost, we have here with us today Krista, the Magic Wanzer, our Deputy Director of Quality and Accreditation at Oregon Tilth. We have Misty Misdemeanor Nider, who is our Transaction Services Administrator. You're going to want to make friends with her if you're doing any sort of import, export. And Jordan, what did I say? Raising the Bar Bartlett, who is our Certification Operations Specialist. Franklin, Flying a Kite in a Thunderstorm Smith, is our Client Experience Specialist. And I'm Levi's, whatever, it's spelled without a C, Fredrickson, our Applicant Experience Specialist. So we're all glad to be here with you. Hopefully this is fun. Thanks for making the time. And we're going to kick it off here with Krista on our Strengthening Organic Enforcement overview, background, goals, and impact.
Levi, thank you. You're always bringing fun to the serious issues, and I appreciate that. And thanks for hosting this video for the operators. This is the second of a four-part series, and this is wonderful. We're continuing our conversation about the strengthening organic enforcement. And in our first video, our certification director, Connie Carr, introduced the new SOE regulations that became effective March 2023 as part of the USDA National Organic Program to be implemented by March 19th, 2024. So it was interesting. I found that she shared when the national standards were first implemented in 2002 and how at that time ODCO was working with a very few exporters and importers. And today, ODCO works with hundreds of importers and exporters across all sorts of commodities and countries with complex supply chains.
Yeah, Krista, and as we all can see, the industry has really blown up and grown quite significantly in the last 20 years, and it really does seem like a perfect time for these changes and updates.
Yeah, it's great timing, and it's time for a change to make the organic supply chain more robust. So the strengthening organic enforcement rules are focused on the prevention of fraud in the organic industry. And today we are going to touch on two areas where the changes to regulations strengthen the official certificates issued to operators. So what we're trying to build up here is that the SOE is identifying areas that enforcement in the supply chain will prevent fraudulent activities by ensuring all those that handle the product are certified in the chain and transactions of the products in the chain are clearly recorded and ultimately making a complex supply chain more transparent.
Okay, awesome, Krista. So the two certificates we're talking about here are the NOP Import Certificates and our Certificates of Organic Operations, or just what many people call their certificate.
Yes, that's correct, Levi. As our handling expert, Ms. Lindsay Campbell, mentioned in webinar part 1, exporters and importers of organic goods will now be required to be certified. And as part of that, those certified entities, not only do they need to obtain a certificate of organic operation, but they also need an authorized NOP import certificate to continue importing into the United States. And so today with us is our Transaction Services Administrator, Misty Nider, who will provide more information about the NOP import certificates. Database expert, Ms. Jordan Bartlett, will also provide us with updates to the Certificate of Operation.
Yes, glad to be here, guys. I'm excited to explain more about the NOP Import Certificate and the requirements for organic products entering into the United States.
Yes, and thanks for having me as well. I'm going to talk about another type of certificate, which is the main certificate the operators are issued when they're granted organic certification. We also know this as the certificate or certificate of organic operations, along with updates to the Organic Integrity Database, also called the OID, for issuing these certificates, and how the new SOE is enforcing a standardized format and centralized database for making certificates available to the public.
Okay, this rules. So thank you, team. We look forward to more on these topics. Let's start out with Misty. Can you start us off with what you know so far about the NOP Import Certificate requirements? I know it's on a lot of people's minds.
Absolutely, Levi. Thank you. The import certificate is a certificate issued to operators who request product to be verified as organic with a transaction. That is for products leaving a country and entering into the United States. And like Krista said, there are some changes with the NOP Import Certificate, namely two important ones. Currently, USDA requires some countries with equivalence agreements or arrangements to issue the NOP Import Certificate for products entering the United States. With SOE, USDA will require all importers of certified organic product to be accompanied by an NOP Import Certificate. So now, if you are exporting product from Australia into the United States, there will need to be an accompanying valid NOP Import Certificate with the shipment. Even our OTCO certified operations located in Mexico, who export product to the United States, will be required to request and have an NOP Import Certificate issued with each transaction. There are some agreements and/or arrangements that did not require NOP Import Certificates before, like Canada, who must now have a valid NOP Import Certificate in place for all transactions crossing the U.S. border.
So just to make this like crystal clear and to have it one more time spelled out. So anybody bringing organic products into the United States will have to request an NOP import certificate from their certifier.
That's correct, Franklin. That about sums it up. For all organic imports into the United States, there must be a valid NOP import certificate issued and in place, or the product will risk getting held up or not allowed into the country to be sold as organic. And as mentioned earlier, currently any uncertified exempt entities such as exporters would need an NOP import certificate to accompany products entering into the United States.
And I just wanted to jump in, Franklin, and add, we've been getting lots of questions about whether the foreign entities who have equivalency agreements and arrangements already in place with the US, they're wondering if those exports in those countries need to become certified to the NOP. And so the answer is no. In the SOE, an organic exporter must be certified by USDA accredited certifying agent or be covered by a trade arrangement or agreement. So, and the USDA NOP is currently working with trade partners to ensure that exports under these arrangements can request an NOP import certificate.
Awesome. Thank you, Krista. And just to clarify that one more time, basically, so if you are an exporter in a country without an established equivalency agreement or arrangement with the United States, then your operation will need to get certified well before March 20th, 2024 to minimize any disruption in trade. So don't wait until March 19th. Do it like much sooner than later, just to save everyone the headache. So this is a friendly PSA from your applicant experience team. And then last thing, just, I don't know, are there any other updates about NOP import certificates that we should know about?
Well, Franklin, actually, also starting March 19, 2024, the data used by the certifying agent to create an import certificate will be entered into a shared centralized database of the NOPs called the Organic Integrity Database, or the OID. OTCO will process any requests for NOP import certificates like we always have for our certified operators. However, we will begin to share more information with the OID system to generate those NOP import certificates. As OTCO's Transaction Services Administrator, I'm part of a team that will continue to bring you more updates and information pertaining to those import certificates and other transaction certification topics. Best way to connect is by emailing us at export@tilth.org or visiting our website.
And we'll also know more by the end of the summer. So certifiers are tentatively set to begin testing with USDA NOP in June of 2023. So we know that some of our operations in Mexico have expressed concern over the sheer volume and tight timing of fresh produce shipments entering the US at the border. And I wanted to mention that when we were working with the NOP to test the system last year, they were addressing those validity periods and amounts with the new NOP Import Certificate system. So for example, an operation who is exporting to the US from Mexico would use the NOP Import Certificate for, let's say, their organic tomatoes. And they need to ship 100 kilograms over a course of a month. So rather than issue them an import certificate for each and every truck that month, they can use one certificate to cover a number of shipments over a period of time. So it's going to be user friendly as well, too. So there's more to come on this as we test the system and get ready for launch in March of 2024.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I feel like I'm bathing in clarity here, which is about the only bathing we have time for these days with SOE. So all that said, that is really good information on the international front and some of the changes there. Knowing there's more to come is always important. I think I'd remind the folks watching today, like, stay tuned is definitely the mantra with SOE. Certifiers are working really hard to interpret this and break it down for y'all. So stay tuned is definitely something to keep in mind. We will keep piloting things and let you know as we solidify them. Let's take a shift now to talking about the changes around the certificates for our operations. Jordan, you are spearheading this change. Can you tell us a little more about it?
Yeah, absolutely, Levi. Happy to. Somewhat linked to the import certificates and data improvements in the Organic Integrity Database, or OID, the SOE regulation is also requiring certifiers to issue the certificates of organic operation, or the main certificate, if you will, directly from the OID system. Currently, some certifiers use the system to issue the certificates, but most do not. Most certifiers currently are using their own systems for certification and auditing and issuance of certificates. But with SOE, they will require all NOP certifiers and certificates to be issued from the centralized database.
Interesting. So what exactly does the change improve, Jordan, and why are they doing it?
That's a really good question. So this change will standardize the format of the certificate and make it more uniform and readily accessible to the public on the NOP's website. You'll be able to verify all certificates and current status of operations through this publicly available website. The NOP has had a lot of feedback about the challenges of verifying certification status when certificate templates all look different and data is not held in a public place. This change works to address that feedback and increase access to the current information while working to prevent fraud. But it's also really important to understand that how we look at a certificate right now is actually in two parts. So the main certificate that is the part that identifies the company, scopes, address, dates, and product categories. And then there are a special attached product summary, or also called an addenda. The OID will have the details on the actual certificate of operations, but the system plan summary, or product profiles, that list the brands and a lot of other additional compliance may still be issued by the individual certifiers outside of the OID.
Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, that does sound like quite a number of changes. But in addition to electronically issuing the certificate from the OID, is there anything else that it's changing?
Yes, that's also a very great question, Franklin. So certification agencies are going to be required to update the OID within 3 business days of issuing a notification of suspension or revocation or the effective date of an operations surrender. We are currently working on systems to ensure that we're doing more regular updates to the OID and this public system. But overall, there's a lot of changes in SOE regarding data and sharing more current data to the system so that supply chain can rely more heavily on the data within, which is very exciting, but also means that us as certifiers have a lot more work to do to implement this.
Yeah, a lot of work. This format of the certificate of organic operation and the centralized database with the issuing the certificate ultimately a lot of work, but it's going to bring about an increased transparency that allow our stakeholders access to verify the certification status of an organic operation. So that's amazing. It already does that now, but it'll do it more effectively. Decrease fraud or misrepresentation by having different formats of the certificate in the industry. There was a fun fact in the SOE that they said there's 70 different distinct formats of the certificate in the marketplace. So now we're going to just have one format and it's going to be more consistently used. And then this is the one I like as a Department of as being part of the Department of Quality and Accreditation. It's going to decrease our number of non-compliances as a certifier for having the format wrong on the certificate. Not that we got non-compliances, but it was always lingering out there that we just had the format just right. But ultimately, for the operations, it's going to definitely reduce the administrative burden on them by making the verification of the certification more streamlined and consistent. And when they go to buy and source their organic products and ingredients, it's going to be more easily accessible in that centralized database.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristen.
Mhm.
Yeah, that definitely does sound like it is going to simplify and streamline things a lot. So that is some amazing, exciting changes there.
Yeah.
Last one, Jordan, you said that we can actually already access the OID. Can you point us exactly where to go just to find the operator information?
Yeah, of course. My pleasure. So right now, the general public can view information in the Organic Integrity Database at organic.ams.usda.gov/integrity. From there, it is simply filtering and searching by names and then clicking on the entity to find more details. I highly encourage everyone to utilize it and become more familiar and comfortable, as pretty soon we're going to be relying pretty heavily on it in the near future. And as always, if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or any of the members of the OTCO teams. They're all wonderful and knowledgeable and can help you.
That sums it up really nicely, Jordan. Is at the end of the day, folks, for those of you here with us, we're here for you. That's our job as your certifier. We're wading through this stuff. I mean, I'm sleeping in my office, folks. Like until next March 2024, I'll be sleeping on that couch. We're here for you. Don't be afraid to reach out if you're a new applicant or you have a new entity to certification. You can get a hold of Get Certified at tilth.org. It'll very likely be Franklin or myself there ready to serve you. If you're a current client, you can get a hold of your team here at Tilth. And if you just don't know who to get a hold of, organic@tilth.org is always a safe bet. Our admin team has your back there. They'll find the right people to talk to. So we just want to thank you for making time today. We hope this was fun for you. We look forward to more webinars coming up, parts 3 and part 4 in the next couple months. And we're just reminding you that we're here for you, and may the enforcement be with you. Thanks, everyone. Good to see you.
Thanks, Franklin. Thanks, Levi.
Thanks.
Yeah, you bet.